let's transition to this new material. So you released 2 EPs, 1 full-length solo album. I think Time Bomb was technically a full-length album because you had those nice interludes in there that were just
thank
phenomenal.
you. Yes.
Yeah, I love, you know how much I love those. And then you had a full-length album with you and your wife's project, The Highland Rim. You've released a few singles. And your music, I feel like it crosses genre barriers. I referred to it as pop fusion in my intro.
I love that.
Would you say that was a fair assessment?
Dude, that's cool. I had not heard anyone describe it that way, but I think that's really, really cool. I like that. I might steal that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, free of charge, my friend. So if you want to give me credit for it, that's nothing. But anyway, I feel like all of your music, no matter what style you touch on, you do a lot of jazz, which these 2 singles we're going to listen to the clips of here are heavily jazz-based tracks, which I love. You know, that's my favorite side of your music. And you've done blues. You had some country leanings. I've heard some folk leanings in your stuff. But I feel like the genre thread that runs through all of your music is pop. Like everything has a pop base to it. I don't mean this kind of bass. I mean like a foundation, a pop foundation to it. Whereas, like I would say, my music, I would say rock kind of runs through everything. There's even if I do folk, it's folk rock. For you, I feel like that pop music is your thing. So these next 2 tracks that I already mentioned here, these are kind of getting back into a style you've done before. You did a lot of this on your first record, Somewhere in Between. You had a lot of jazz, pop, rock stylings. And these 2 tracks are like right there. Like they sound like they could have been on that record, but with more mature vocals from you because you're cutting these now much older than you were then.
Yes.
And I also feel like from a production standpoint, because now you're in Nashville produced them, they are a more modern, slickly polished tracks than what you got on Somewhere in Between record. Not that the Somewhere in Between record wasn't great, because it was, you know how much
Totally.
So, but I tell you what, let's go. Do you want to tee these up or just jump right into the clips?
Dude, gosh, that's a great question. No, this is also fun. I say I like you leading the questioning. So I say let's do the clips and then whatever jumps to mind.
Okay, let's do it. All right, so I'll play the clips back to back here, and then we can talk about them both together at the same time, compare and contrast, talk about how they complement each other. All right, let's do it. So this first one, this is Once in a While. And Sam, I don't know how well this is going to sound to you or how much you're going to be able to hear this, but I assure you, when our audience is listening to this, they're going to be able to hear it really well. So,
cool, yeah.
So here we go.
Is this just the way life's gonna feel for me always? Is it up to me if things are ever gonna change? It's always out of reach, some days an inch, some days a mile. Why don't I feel peace once in a while?
Classic Sam Mooney keys work there. All right, so we'll cut it right there.
Sweet.
All right, so that was Once in a While, and you're packaging these kind of, we'll talk about that after I play the second clip. Okay, let's
love it.
This is the second clip, and this is Something Different. Let's go.
I'm fascinated by the things that she says. She's a genius, it don't go to her head. And did I mention how good she looks in red? There's something different about that girl. Out of all the people in the world, I can't believe that you're my girl. And I'll always be true, 'cause I only want you.
Love that falsetto there, man. Great.
Oh, thank you.
Keys. And I played a little bit longer clip on that one because I really wanted that little instrumental break there with the keys.
You. Yeah, I was really happy with that solo.
Yeah, dude, your solos. You know, I've always loved your keys work. And
thank you.
And actually, for those listening, some of you may have actually heard Sam's keys on some of my tracks.
Yes.
Because he did the keys work for the Unfiltered record that I have remixed like 2 or 3 times by now. So if you've heard any of the versions of those songs, you've heard Sam's keys. And Sam, you have a very particular piano style. And I feel
thank you.
like I can just hear, that's the Sam Mooney keys right there. And
Really?
yeah,
Thank
like,
you.
and I don't hear that style with anybody else. Like, there's nobody I've ever heard that I thought, man, that sounds just like Sam Mooney play it. No.
Really? Thank
No,
you, man.
I've
That means a
never heard
lot.
it, dude. And I love having that sound on my own tracks. I've got Sam Mooney
Thank
keys
you.
on my tracks. It's so great. So those 2 tracks, we just played a clip. If you want to go check them out, by the time this drops, they should be available everywhere, streaming, download. Go check them out. It's Once in a While and Something Different. And you are packaging these as like an old school A-side, B-side single, which
Yes.
know I am all over. I love
Yes.
I love that style. That's how I think about releases. That's how I think about music. We talk about this whenever we set up the interview. Whenever I release the Unfiltered record, that's how it's A-side, B-side, side 1, side 2.
Totally.
And I really can't structure a release any other way.
Really?
No, like I can't do just like a straight CD or playlist track order. Like, that doesn't compute for me. It has to be structured like an album. Because I necessarily grew up on vinyl, because that was before my time and before it came back to the forefront. But I grew up on cassette that still was side A and side B. So that's where my mind goes. And you're doing the same thing here. I think it's brilliant, and I think these two. I think these two complement each other perfectly. They're both jazz based, like we talked about earlier. But
Totally.
But one, I think, leans more into a modern pop vibe of jazz. That's Once in a While. That's the A side of the single, if you will. And then the second track we played, Something Different, the B side. That's more traditional jazz. And I said this to you when we set up the interview. This is like a classic love song jazz standard that Frank Sinatra could have sung in 1947.
Dude, that's such a great compliment, man. I love that stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Jazz is the #1 thing I listen to, just as a fan of music. I like it's not even so much like my favorite artist of all time is Stevie Wonder, and he's jazzy, but it's not jazz. But jazz is such a part of, like, it's the best easy listening music, in my opinion. So it's what I put on when I'm doing chores, and it's what I'm, anytime I want to relax but still be listening to music. It's the instrumental jazz, the primary thing I listen to when I'm working, writing emails. And so I'm constantly absorbing it. And even though pop is certainly a big part of my, the gumbo of my music, jazz
it's the roux,
always,
right? The gumbo roux. This is pop. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, jazz always tends to sneak in, and these songs particularly are heavy on that influence.
Yeah, and it's so interesting you're talking about that, how much you listen to it. That explains why it gets so infused in that, because you're just like absorbing it by osmosis all the time.
All the time.
And it just naturally comes out in your stuff. And, I love it. So these two tracks, let's talk about them lyrically, thematically here. The second track, I'll start with the second track first, Something Different. This is very much in, I feel like, the lyrical style with most of your music, which you started writing, like most of us do, when you were really young, you were a teenager.
Yes.
And what's the thing that is most on the minds of teenagers? Romance, right? Romance.
Yes.
Relationships, right? So I feel like most of us, when we start writing songs, we start writing that early, and we're focused on that topic, romantic relationships. And even into young adulthood, and we're writing love songs, we're writing breakup songs, we're writing unrequited love songs. And that most of your songs have kind of played that theme. Plus, that's also the kind of music we're listening to, right? That's
totally.
That's the music that's made for that demographic, those teen young adults. So, and that's what you played into, and you did it so well.
Thank
And
you.
even the songs that didn't deal with relationships, like Somewhere Between, the title track from your first record, Find My Way, title track from your second record, like those weren't romantic songs, but they were still really speaking to a young demographic. I feel like, and it was written by a young person. You could tell that, like
Yeah.
you're in a transitional phase, and you're
Totally.
yeah. So I still get that with this second track, something different. The other track, the A side, Once in a While, I feel like this is in your songwriting. This is like a graduation track for you.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like, and you can correct me if you don't think this is a fair assessment, I feel like this is the first song in your catalog that really, it's an adult song. And I don't mean like explicit. I mean that it's written by an adult. It's playing to adults, because you're talking about stuff. You're talking about the refrain is, why can't I have peace once in a while? Right? That's the refrain. Okay. That is such a grown up thing. Like,
Yes.
you can tell that you as a person you've now experienced that. You're out of that transitional phase, and you're experiencing things, adulting
Yeah.
things, and it's starting to come through in your music. Would you say it's a fair assessment?
I think that's a very, very fair assessment, and it's actually fun. We could camp out here for a minute because there's a lot I could say about that shift in my writing. Several thoughts. I would say, yeah, I think you're spot on. I think like when you're 18, most of your songs are gonna have something to do with love, either love that you feel, love that you're trying to find, love gone wrong, and then, if you're lucky enough to be like us and find wonderful people to spend your life with, that stuff gets kind of settled over time, and you still write your love songs, but there's a lot less angst in that equation, and your thoughts begin to, if you're doing life right, I think the 20s, that stuff kind of locks in, and you then are able to begin growing up a lot more as a, examining your internal world, learning a lot about what motivates you, what you're scared of, what brings you joy. And I think my 20s were a lot of homework on that front, really getting to know myself. And it definitely came out in the writing. And I think another thing is the an interesting kind of midway point between those kind of things was the Howlin' Rim record's kind of interesting because a lot of those songs are love songs, but they're kind of like a love song and this subtopic that we're exploring love through. So just to illustrate a few songs for anybody listening that's heard that record, like there's a song called Always Be Round, which is very much a love song, but it's also a love song that's clearly happening amidst some sort of hardship. It's like a unconditional love, but we're going through it today. You know what I mean? There's a song called All the Things I Understand Now, which is this, again, it's a love song, but the verses really flesh out like falling in love has expanded my understanding of the world, and there's so much that has changed about it's like reflecting on how much love has changed you. Another one that jumps out is yeah, there's a song called like Everything Is Better When You're Here, which is a long distance love song. So that record was kind of the stepping stone between those earlier songs and now. And so yeah, I think it's been fun to, yeah, I do think I write more introspectively now. And I did that, like you said, in songs or two here or there on each record. But it was not the overarching theme. And I guess spoiler alert, the crop of songs I have now is overwhelmingly that stuff. It's overwhelmingly the introspective stuff. And I had an epiphany the other day because I was describing this set of songs to someone, and I described it as the most honest work I've done. And as soon as the words left my mouth, I was like, why does that not feel right? It's because it's like you're always trying to write honestly as an artist. You're always channeling the truth in some way. There's, obviously songs where we write stories or embellish or whatever. But like generally, we're always pulling from an honest place as we write. And the word I was actually looking for that I now know and will use to describe these songs, I think it's my most vulnerable work. There's I've always written honestly, but I think not all honesty is equally vulnerable. And I think these are really vulnerable songs. I think like once you hit 30, like I just did, you get a little more comfortable asking open-ended questions like, why don't I feel peace once in a while? And you also get more comfortable at not feeling like you are um responsible for giving every possible piece of information to the listener. Like, I think an older version of me would have maybe thought like, well, if I say, why don't I feel peace once in a while? Well, people think I'm like literally always sad. It's like, well, no, obviously not. Like,
People
but
contact you, ask you if you're okay. Do you need to call? Do you need to call a certain hotline? You know, that kind of thing.
yes,
It's like,
exactly,
no, 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 no.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's like, I like sure sometimes I do feel peace, but the song is about it's about the day where you feel like that. You know, you are stuck in traffic, you had a rotten day at work, your head is in knots, and that's the day you need that song. And so I'm writing for that person at that moment. But I think there was a time, and I know this is such a long answer, but I do think again, I think there's a worthwhile
Well, you've already
pit
answered my
stop.
next question, so keep going.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what was the next
I was going to
question?
ask you, was this the kind of material you were going to be doing for the next for your next set of songs? So
Okay,
yeah,
love
yes,
it, love
keep
it.
going.
So
Yeah.
we're already in there. So anyway, and I think like, you know, as a believer, I think I wrestle with like what does making redemptive art mean? I'd actually be curious when I finish this train of thought to hear how you think about that. Because your latest record, you know, has its I mean, you're creating from a slightly different place. I don't want to spoil any reveals, but you know, there's a lot of stuff happening with your record. But you know, you write some really honest, deep stuff in that,
Well,
and
thank you. I appreciate that, man.
I
I
think,
try.
yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's really, really good. And so you know, I've wrestled with well, to make redemptive art. Does that mean that if verse 1 and 2 are sad, then verse 3 needs to have the you know redemptive? You know, do we need to hand that to the listener in the bridge? And I think what I've realized is the answer is no. Like we just need to create great art that meets people where they are. I think my records are all redemptive. I think like even Time Bomb ends with Holy Water, which is this kind of coming back to center. Um, and this record actually has a song, I think it's gonna end up on it, called Faithful, that's kind of talking about, all right, I'm in a storm right now, but I'm gonna power through, and trust in the Lord despite that. And anyway, so all that to say, I think what I've realized is I think all my records have a redemptive arc, but I think I'm more comfortable now releasing songs that are more open-ended and more again, I think as an adult, you just I think that's part of why it's a grown-up song is it's a little more comfortable sitting in that sadness and being honest about it. Because there are those days where we do feel, you know, that way. Um, so yeah, and then the last thing I'll say to illustrate that, there's a line in Go Easy, actually the first single from this project that came out in the fall. The bridge of that song, it's like incredibly vulnerable. There's something about how I deliver it and the thought that is like kind of funny. Like there's an element of humor, but it's also kind of brutally honest. The bridge is, I repeat myself because I'm so scared of being misunderstood. I don't ask for help even when I probably should. I go to the gym 3 times a week because I'm scared of feeling small. Sometimes I don't say what I think because I want to please them all. And it's this jazzy, fun song, but it's like in a
Great,
ballad,
great lyrics, man. Great,
dude,
great
thank you.
stuff. Great
In
stuff.
a ballad, that would be like heart-wrenching kind of stuff. You know, even saying like, gosh, I had this self-perception that's distorted and you know, and so I don't think I could have written those lyrics years ago, but I couldn't have shared them, I think. And so um but again, I think that honesty is real, and I think, like, when I think of the artists I love, they don't hold me punches in terms of being real about how the world feels some days. So, that is a very long answer to, the writing this project. But yeah, I think it'll be the most vulnerable group of songs ever, and I think that'll pay dividends. I'm excited about it.
Dude, I am too. I'm stoked. I can't wait to hear
Thank
this record. But yeah, you mentioned the Highland Rim record. And I should have put that in that timeline if I was talking about your
you're good.
development.
Yeah, no worries.
Because you're right. And I finally got to sit down and listen to that record, by the way. I know the last time we had talked back at Christmas, I had not yet done that because I had not had the time or had not made the time to sit down and listen to it.
Totally.
Because I like to sit down and listen to a record all the way through if I can.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, because that's how it's meant to be, right? You're making an album. If you made an album, you should be making the album for it to stand as a work of art as an album.
Yes,
that's how the artist intends. So anyway, yeah, and I in particular, let's see what song was it? You just said it's the next.
Always
it's the next.
Be Around.
No, it's the next to last
all the
track.
Things I Understand Now.
Yes, that. Yes. All things I understand now. That. Whenever I listen to that, I was like, yeah, this is still a love song, but it's a more mature love song. And I feel like exactly what you were talking about, getting to this point where you are in your music. And I would say this song in particular, Once in a While, I would say you are speaking to real life. You're speaking to real humanity. You're speaking to situations that most of us adults have gone through, are going through, at least feel occasionally. And that's why it resonates so much. And I think it's going to resonate with your audience. I think people are going to love this. And if not, if not, it's going to be a crying shame because it's a phenomenal song. Absolutely great. Cannot wait to hear the rest of this record.
Is this just the way life's